Well, Susan, it's great to be able to meet with you. Thank you for taking some time today, and I'm excited to share some of this information. I just wanted to ask you, I was noticing the picture here. Is that your son?
That's my son.
Oh, great. How old is he?
He's 7.
Oh, very good. It looks like he's a baseball fan.
He loves to play. He
Oh,
always has.
oh, very cool. Very cool. That's wonderful. So, before I get into this, I wanted to ask you maybe a few questions, if
Hmm.
that's okay.
Sure.
Tell me about the company's benefit package right now.
We have a standard core benefits
Uh-huh.
package, and then we also acquired Aflac about a year ago.
Oh, okay. So y'all are offering Aflac, and
Yes.
how's that going? I'm
It's going well. It's
imagine
going
pretty
really
well.
well.
Yeah, good. Well, that's great. Have you all ever looked at offering identity theft protection as a benefit before?
We haven't, but I am interested to see the benefit of it.
Okay, yeah, great. Well, that's one of the things that we specialize in at Harvard Risk Management. So I can, like I said, show you some information on that. It's one of those things that, as you can imagine, there's been a real big demand for it here, especially recently. There's so many victims of identity theft. It's the number one crime in America. So one thing that we're real big on at Harvard Risk Management is we want to offer programs that make sense for the employees, but also that make sense for the business
Right.
itself. And so that's something that we think that identity theft protection really does. Have you ever known someone who's been a victim of identity theft?
I actually was about 7 years ago.
Oh, wow. 7 years ago, you said?
Hmm.
What happened there?
My credit card
Oh,
was taken. The numbers were used, and it just wiped us out.
oh my goodness. Well, that, I can imagine that would be pretty devastating, pretty
It was
frustrating.
very frustrating,
Yeah,
time consuming.
yep. And that's the thing is, I mean, people who become victims of identity theft, a lot of folks don't realize how much time it takes to clean up the mess, to restore their good name. And I mean,
Right.
we're talking with some victims hundreds of hours to clean up the mess. And I mean, it's just it can be a nightmare, as
Right.
from personal experience. And that kind of is what this picture is about, where it says lost time equals lost money. What we found is that a lot of these victims, the time that they take to clean up the mess, Susan, they end up taking work hours to focus on that because you think about the places that they've got to work with, whether it's a law enforcement agency or maybe dealing with a financial institution. A lot of those places are only open 8 to 5. That's when they're at work. So sometimes it's days that they're taking off and absenteeism increases. Sometimes it's taking time while they're at work. Either way, they end up being a lot less productive. So if your employees can be protected against identity theft, if they've got a solution, then when that happens to them or to a member of their family, it makes them a more profitable employee. They're not as distracted, they're not irritable, and some of those things that can happen to an employee when they become a victim of identity theft, they don't feel the effects the same way if
Right.
they have a good solution in
Right.
place. So that's why we say, for a company, it makes a lot of sense because there's no direct cost to the company. However, it can actually increase your bottom line if it can help your employees become more profitable. So, let me show you one of the things that we believe in is educating employees, not just coming in here and talking about something that they can purchase, but we really think that they need to be educated on identity theft. And a lot of folks don't have, for example, an idea of all the different things that a criminal can do with their information. So we do a lot of employee education. Do y'all ever do like staff meetings or safety meetings or anything like that?
No, no, we haven't really
Not
been
really.
doing that. No.
That's okay. And I don't know if you guys ever do like lunch and learns or
Yeah, we do lunch and learns.
yeah.
We do that.
That's a great way to be able to introduce something like this because we can do an identity theft workshop during a lunch and learn and teach them about some of the different types of identity theft. That's what this page is on. A lot of people think that identity theft is really only related to their credit. When I say identity theft, a lot of employees think about their credit cards or bank accounts and that financial side of identity theft. What they don't necessarily realize is that when someone steals their information, they can use it for a vast number of different things. One of them being down here where it says criminal identity theft. That's where they steal your information and use it to go commit a crime in your name. So you could have an employee. We've had plenty of groups where people have had warrants issued for their arrest for a crime that they never committed, and that's a serious deal.
That is.
If I'm laying there in bed tonight and the SWAT team comes into my house because I've got a warrant issued for my arrest for something I don't even know about, and you can imagine 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd sit up in bed and I look down, I've got little red lights all over my heart. I'm not going to turn to my wife and say, "Hey, honey, I hope my credit score's okay."
Right.
as
Terrifying.
important as my credit is, these other types of identity theft, they really can be catastrophic, disastrous. And think about this Social Security identity theft. What they'll do is they'll steal a Social Security number, Susan, and they'll use it to go get a job. So they'll steal one of your employee socials and they'll use it to get a job, working in a different state, someone that doesn't have a social or maybe has a criminal background or doesn't want to pay taxes and whatever it is, but they will use their, other people's socials to get work. And now your employee's dealing with, IRS records, and the IRS is saying, "Why didn't you claim this income for this other job that you had?" And it just can be a huge mess. And whether it's medical or driver's license or, frankly, with their credit as well, all of that is time that employees are going to have to take to deal with it. And the more areas that they get hit in, the more time they're going to have to take. Well, again, one of the things that we like to do is show them these different types of identity theft and really help them understand how big this problem is. Yes, it's happening to millions of Americans every year. Yes, it's the number one crime in America, but it's also big from the standpoint of those criminals can do so much with their information. And the employees that we are able to show that to, they really appreciate it. They walk away from that thinking, "Man, I've learned a lot, about identity theft." And we even show them some of the scams that are being pulled right now, and so that they can be aware of that as well. But we certainly don't want to just talk about the problem. There is a solution. And one thing that we do at Harvard Risk Management, we're a third-party broker. So what that means, Susan, is we can go out and research all of the different coverages that are available in the marketplace, which we do. We spend a lot of time, countless hours, researching and looking at different solutions, different products, different coverages. And we want to make sure that we're bringing to you the best coverage available. And we're proud that after all of the research that we've done, we've been able to secure a coverage that is hands down the best coverage in America. It's called ID Shield. And it's interesting. The company is over 40 years in business, which that's a good thing. But the real reason why we like it is because ID Shield does more for a victim than any other coverage that we've ever seen. And so that's why we choose to offer ID Shield and recommend that to our clients. And we've been recommending ID Shield now for over 10 years, and they've really done a great job with the employees that we've sold this to. That have become victims of identity theft. ID Shield has really been able to help them. So here's kind of just an overview of the coverage that ID Shield provides, where it says monitor more of what happens. That's a monitoring service, and it's a lot more than just credit monitoring. Because some people will have access to credit monitoring through a data breach or something like that. But this is a lot more robust than just credit monitoring. What they're doing for you there is they're monitoring really everything: your social, your date of birth. They're monitoring court records. I mentioned someone committing a crime in your name. If there was a warrant that showed up in a different state, they're monitoring court records to try to see something like that. They're monitoring your medical ID numbers. They're monitoring payday loans, just everything that you can imagine. They're even monitoring the dark web to see if any of that sensitive information is being bought, sold, or traded. And if they see anything that looks suspicious, anything that could be a sign of identity theft, whether it be an address change or a new account opened in your name, again, a new court record, anything like that, then they notify you. And it's really cool. ID Shield has an app that your employees can download, and the alerts just come right through their app. And if they see something that does not look right to them, all they do is hit the button on the app, and boom, it connects them with a licensed fraud investigator. And that's under this category here where it talks about restoration, restore your identity completely. That's the biggest point of this, and that's the reason why we choose to offer ID Shield. It's the only company where if one of your people gets hit, one of your employees gets hit by identity theft, they're actually going to bring in, they've got a team of licensed investigators that an investigator is going to work with your employee. And it's not just where the investigator is going to coach your employee on the phone, but your employee still has to do a lot of the work. With ID Shield, they're actually going to do that work on behalf of the employee. So your employee can sign over a limited power of attorney right over to that licensed fraud investigator, and the investigator is going to do all the phone calls, all the legwork, all the paperwork, everything, all the affidavits, everything that your employee would normally have to take time off of work to go do.
Wow.
The investigator is going to do it on their behalf. So, yeah, it's one of those things. Like, we just brought this into a company a couple weeks ago. We met with 30 employees, and 24 of the 30 employees signed up because it's just something in today's world, you need it. I mean, you've got to have. You're probably familiar with Dynacorp, that down the street. That's who we met with a couple weeks ago, and I mean their employees loved it. They were all over it, and Dynacorp was happy because it was it was beneficial for the company as well. They want all their people to be protected so that it doesn't cause issues in the future with them, again, taking time off of work or anything like that. But that's the ID Shield product. It's again one of the most popular employee benefits, voluntary benefits right now in the market. Do you have any questions on ID Shield or on the coverage or anything?
No, I'm no.
That's okay.
Not at this time. It's just amazing the different ways that your credit can be accessed.
That your identity can be used, and it is. And that's kind of how the employees feel, is like, wow. Once they realize how big the problem is right now, then it makes a lot of sense for them to seek the solution to protect their
7
families.
years ago, I would have liked to have this
Right.
coverage.
Absolutely.
That's impressive.
That's one of the number one things that we hear from employees when we come in is, where were you 6 months ago? Where were you, whenever I had this issue myself? And that's certainly the case with the identity theft program. Let me ask you, have you ever looked at offering a group legal plan at all?
No, but
No.
I'd be interested to hear about that also.
Sure. That's most of the time we'll offer both a group legal plan in conjunction with an identity theft plan. The two marry pretty well because there are times that you might become a victim of identity theft and want to have legal counsel as well. But what I like about the legal plan is it can help employees with all kinds of different issues. So it doesn't have to be just identity theft. It could be a ton of different legal situations that they would be able to have an attorney to help them with. So I can show you a little information about that too. And
Great.
it's what I like about the legal plan is the company is Legal Shield that offers it. They're the pioneer of legal service plans in North America, and I really like that the benefits there are things that your employees can use a lot of times right away. We'll come into a group and we'll have employees who sign up for the legal plan, and within their first month, some of them have saved over $1,000 because they're able to have the legal plan help them with stuff that they already need, which is interesting. I'll kind of show you some of those features, and I think you'll see why that's the case. But you can see there are some of the things that the legal plan does for them. It's going to give them unlimited legal advice, or legal advice on an unlimited number of questions. So what that means is they can call, they have access to a law firm in their state. And I know that you guys have employees here, but then you also have in a couple different states as
Correct.
well. So it's nice because it's a law firm in their state. And Legal Shield's real picky about the law firms that they use. They select AV rated law firms. That's the highest rating that a firm can receive. So they're really talking with very prestigious, top quality law firms. And they can call them as much as they want. They can ask them as many questions as they want. The joke we always tell is even if they're just legally lonely, they can just call and talk, and that's a joke. But The reality is they've got unlimited access, so they never have to worry about a clock ticking or anything like that. If they call them and talk to them for 5 minutes or 45 minutes, it's all covered 100% under their membership. So I like that. I've used that a lot. I've used it a lot more than I thought I would because, when I first signed up, I kind of thought, you really only need to talk to a lawyer if you're in trouble, if you've done something wrong. And that's really not the case. There's a lot of things that happen in life, just everyday life events that since it's free to call, you just pick up the phone and get sound legal counsel on. And I've found that I've used that a lot more than I thought I was going to. I love it. I think it's a great concept and a great benefit. But another thing they'll do is they'll write letters and make telephone calls on the employee's behalf. So what that is if you ever had a situation where you had an employee who was mad about a situation where they're not being treated fairly. Maybe it's a cell phone company where they're overcharging them on a bill, or maybe they've got a dispute with their homeowners association or a warranty issue. People.
Right.
You're in HR, so I'm sure people are already talking to you about the life issues that they face. But this is great because if they're in one of those situations, they can have an attorney write a letter on their behalf. And, whether, again, it's that utility company or the cell phone company or the warranty company, they just take them a lot more seriously when it's an attorney that's doing the talking. And as you can imagine, right? And so we have a lot of employees in the groups that we work with that love to use that. Because you think about, again, if they don't have something like Legal Shield, what are they going to do? Well, they're going to get real upset. They're probably going to take time away from work to go deal with whatever issue they're frustrated about. And not only that, but then when they come back to work, they're irritable and nobody wants to talk to them because they're in a bad mood. And with this, they don't even have to deal with it. They just call a law firm. Hey, this is what is happening. Can you write a letter for me? And the law firm's happy to do that. I had one case where I had a debt collector that was calling my number and they were leaving messages for Lakira Sams. This was a few months ago, and I realized I might look like a Lakira Sams. That's actually not my name. So, but it was a little, it wasn't hurting me or anything, but it was frustrating because it wasn't my issue. So finally, I answered the phone. I said, "Look, I don't know who Lakira Sams is. I've had this number for over 5 years. Could y'all please stop calling?" And the guy was like, "Oh yeah, no problem, sir. We'll take your number off our list, and after 24 hours, you won't get any more calls." Well, I said, "Okay." So I hung up and I waited about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and they were still calling. So this time I was a little bit more frustrated. I answered. I said, "Listen, I told another guy this is not her number. I don't know who she is. This is a mistake. My number ended up on here. I need you to quit calling." And the other guy told me he was going to take the number off your list. And this guy said, "Oh, I see what happened, sir. He took your number off the first list, but he didn't take it off the second list." And I'm like, "Well, how many lists do you have?" Wow. So anyway, I told him, or he told me, he said, "Look, we're going to take your number off of this. After 24 hours, you won't get any more calls." And I was a little skeptical. I said, "Are you sure?" He said, Yep, you won't get any more calls." And so I said, "Okay." So I waited again, another week or two, and they're still calling. So this time it was great, Susan, because I figured I got Legal Shield, I might as well use it. So I called the law firm. They put me on the phone with an attorney. He specializes in creditor harassment. That's what he does. And it was great. He said, "Mr. Riches, what we're going to do, we're going to write that company a letter demanding that they stop calling you, and we're going to send it certified mail so we can prove the date that they receive it." And I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Well, sir, if they call you again after they get our letter in the mail, under federal law, they have to pay you $1,000 per phone call." I said, "Are you serious?" So the next day I'm like, please call, please. But anyway, the long story.
I could see the benefit of that.
Sure, yeah.
It's a great benefit.
It's just one of those, look, your employees are going to deal with stuff, whether we like it or not. Let's help them. Let's give them, access to something that could really help them in those situations. Now, I will point out to you, one thing that they cannot use the legal plan for is anything against your company. So because I'll get that question sometimes. Well, what if my employees want to use an attorney against me? We're not going to help them. Legal Shield will not pay one dime towards that. In fact, we amend all of their policies so they can never use Legal Shield against you. And that's actually lifetime indemnity. So even if they leave the company here and this is portable, so they can take it with them at the same rate, which is kind of nice. But even if it's 5 years down the road, even if they drop their plan and sign up for an individual plan, it will always show in their record that they worked for you, and they'll never be able to use their legal plan against your company. So it's lifetime indemnity. Yeah, it's great. A couple others that I think are big here. The estate planning is really nice. That's for your employees that don't have a current last will and testament, which I'd be willing to bet you probably have some employees that haven't got a will or
Sure, I have a lot.
yeah, it's been a while since it's been updated. And with this, they can get a will done, and it's great because there's no waiting period on that. They can get that done their first month. And it's the same will that they go spend $700 to $1,000 for in an attorney's office, because you can see their last will and testament, durable power of attorney, and a living will. And they do all that no charge. And that's all covered 100%. Legal Shield has an app as well, and they can do it right through the app. I mean, we also have paper questionnaires that we can give them, but the reality is they can get that done and save $700 to $1,000 their first month that they're on. And it's like, no wonder so many people are signing up for this. And we average around 50 to 60% enrollment. Now, the one I mentioned when we did Dynacorp a couple weeks ago, that was higher than that, but we average really high, which for a voluntary benefit is pretty good. I mean, that really, really good enrollment, but it's because they can use it. This is different than a lot of benefits in that they don't need a catastrophe. They don't have to wait for a catastrophe to happen to them in their lives to be able to use the plan. Now, I will show you this one because this is big for a lot of people. I don't know if you've got employees that would have teenage drivers, or you might have employees who drive like teenagers. Who knows? but the motor vehicle is nice. If they ever get a speeding ticket, then Legal Shield will provide a defense for them. The law firm will defend them, and they're really good at getting those tickets reduced so that it does not go on their record. I've used that, Susan, a few times myself just to make sure it works. Just trying the program out. I'm just kidding, but they do a great job, and it's great because they have a nationwide network of law firms that your employees have access to with this. So it's 4,200 law firms nationwide. So they might get a ticket out of state, and it's great. They still call their law firm in their particular state, but then they would connect them with that law firm in the area that they got a ticket in, and that firm would go defend them. So, and it's right through the app. Again, they can just, if they get a speeding ticket, pull out their app, take a picture of their ticket, hit submit, and it goes right to Legal Shield or right to the provider law firm. And just a great little program. It works really well. There's other things like family law. Some of your folks might need some help there if it's a uncontested divorce or name change. There is a waiting period there of 90 days, but once they're a member for 90 days, those uncontested family law issues, divorce, name change, and adoption would be covered 100%, which could save your folks quite a bit of money. And then trial defense, if they're sued, IRS audit protection, they get a 25% discount on anything else. So again, there's so much here that when the employees look at it, they just say, man, I could use that. Whether it's, again, a letter written on my behalf or getting a will done or, fighting one of my teenagers' speeding tickets or whatever, it's just such a usable benefit. And when you combine that with the identity theft protection, there's really just a lot of peace of mind involved.
I agree.
Let me show you kind of what that would look like for your employees. You can see the pricing here. And it's great because if you combine both the legal and the identity theft combo, that's where they're going to get the best value. You can see what the monthly rate would be to cover an entire family, and that's what it would break down to per week. So we're talking about around $1 a day for this coverage for both plans for an entire family. I mean, that's a great
very affordable
deal. And and that's the weekly would be what would be coming out of their check, and so that's when they look at it. That's why it makes so much sense. They're like, oh man, I can handle that. I'm not going to miss that little amount out of my check each week, but this is a benefit that I can use.
Now, can I ask, can we set this up through the employee payroll?
Yeah, payroll deduction, absolutely. Yeah, that's how most of our groups do it,
Great.
and it's again a great value. I think you can see why people are signing up for
I
it.
can. I'm very interested.
So let me ask you, I know that we had talked about maybe doing like a lunch and learn. I know you mentioned you had done those before. Is there a day of the week that would work best to do like a lunch and learn?
The best day for those would be on a Friday.
Like a Friday? Okay. Do you mind if I look at my calendar?
Sure.
Let me look and just see. Because I think that this Friday would be kind of tough for me. I could maybe make that work. Next Friday, I could make that work, but the following Friday, that would be the 16th. That actually would work really well. How does that 16th look for you?
That would work with us.
Okay. Typically around noon, is that when you do a lunch and learn?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what I can do is I can prepare, I've got a flyer that I can prepare for you,
Okay.
and I'll email that to you today. And then you can, do you have a way to email that to all your
We do.
employees? Yeah. If you want to forward that to all your folks, then, and then I can have them just RSVP with you. That way
Okay.
we can get a count for food, but we'll provide, we provide the lunch and we provide the learn. So I'll get a good count from you, and I
Okay.
can touch base with you maybe earlier that week, see what our count's looking like, and again bring lunch for them all as well. I'm assuming they like to eat, and
They do
and
love to eat.
yeah, I've learned when you feed people, they tend to like you a little bit better too. So I think that'll be a great way to roll this out. And one of the things that I think you'll really appreciate is, again, your employees, they'll thank you for this. I mean, they'll come back and say, man, thank you for doing this, because it's going to help them with a lot of issues that, again, many of them already are facing.
It's very beneficial.
All right. Well, Susan, thanks for your time. It's been such a pleasure meeting with you. And of course, I'm going to leave you this packet. You've got my business card in there as well. This is just a listing of just a few of the other companies that we do business with. Some references there. Obviously, we pride ourselves on the company that we keep, and you've also got an article in here that is kind of an interesting read on identity theft. But I think you'll find that this is going to be one of the most positive things that you've ever done here for your folks.
Right. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, and if you have any questions, let me know. But I will plan on seeing you on Friday the 16th.
Great. Sounds
All
good.
right. Thanks.